Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Radha Kalachandi Radha Kalachandi Radhe. Jaya Radha Kalachandi Radha Kalachandi Radhe. Jaya Radha Govinda Radha Govinda Radhe. Govinda. Jaya Jagannath Jaya Jagannath Jaya Baladev Jaya Subhadra. Jaya Gauranita, Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita, Jaya Gauranita. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Neta Gaura Hariba, 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 Neta Gaura Hariba. Jaya Prabhupada, Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Prabhupada, 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada. Lord Premanandi. Jayam Vishupad, Paramahansa, Purvakacharya, Asatara Sattva Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jayam Vishnupad Paramahansa Purvakacharya Asatara Sattva Srimad. His Divine Grace Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se Kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sri Vasari Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gogopinath Shai Mukunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhana ki jai. Sri Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Sri Mayapur Dham ki jai. Sri Munamaya ki jai. Ganga Maya ki jai. Tulsi Maharani Vrinda Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai. Grantha Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Yuga Dharma Harinam Sankirtan Yagya ki jai. Brihat Mridanga Transcendental Book Distribution ki jai. Transcendental Prasadam Distribution ki jai. Go Premanandi. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Sri Sri Guru and Gauranga.
Let me know when I start. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome to Radha Kalachandji Dham, wherever you may be listening in. From the far corners of the world, as far north as Phillips, Wisconsin, listens regularly every day. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janava Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janava Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janava Girivardhari Jaya Gopi Janava Girivardhari Jashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jashodanandana Braja Janaranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada, Jaya Prabhupada. Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev, Gurudev, Jaya Gurudev. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Shri Radha Kalachandji ki jai, Gaura Premanandi, Hari Hari Bol. Thank you, Prabhu. That's my favorite song.
Krishna is much more pleased today. Yes. He did not have to hear my voice, Krishna, today. No. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Welcome to Srimad Bhagavatam class. Today is November 10th, I think. Monday. So we are actually doing Canto 9, Chapter 14 from 24 to 39, and we will discuss 36. The chapter is King Pururava enchanted by Urvashi. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devi Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jaya Mudiryeta. Nashtaprayeshu Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavat Sevaya Bhagavate Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki. Should we read first, Mataji? Oh. Okay, I can read from my notes then. Text 24. Shukdev Goswami continued. The best of human beings, Pururava, being freely enjoying the company of Urvashi, who engaged in the sexual activities with him in many celestial places, such as Chaitraratha and Nandanakana, where the demigods enjoy. Is it working now? Okay. Okay. So if anyone has it open, we can start from 25. Otherwise, I can continue reading.
Urvashi's body was as fragrant as the saffron of a lotus. Being enlivened by the fragrance of her face and body, Pururava enjoyed her company for many days with great jubilation.
26.
Not seeing Urvashi in his assembly, the king of heaven, Lord Indra, said, "Without Urvashi, my assembly is no longer beautiful." Considering this, he requested the Gandharvas to bring her back to his heavenly planet.
Thus the Gandharvas came to earth, and at midnight, when everything was dark, they appeared in the house of Pururava and stole the 2 lambs entrusted to the king by his wife Urvashi.
Urvashi treated the 2 lambs like her own sons. Therefore, when they were being taken by the Gandharvas and began crying, Urvashi heard them and rebuked her husband. "I am killed," she said, "under the protection of an unworthy husband who is a coward and a eunuch, although he thinks himself a great hero."
Because I depended on him, the plunderers have deprived me of my 2 sons, the lambs, and therefore I am now lost. My husband lies down at night in fear, exactly like a woman, although he appears to be a man during the day.
Puruvara, stricken by the sharp words of Urvashi, like an elephant struck by its driver's pointed rod, became very angry. Not even dressing himself properly, he took a sword in hand and went out naked into the night to follow the Gandharvas who had stolen the lambs.
After giving up the 2 lambs, the Gandharvas shone brightly like lightning, thus illuminating the house of Pururava. Urvashi then saw her husband returning with the lambs in hand, but he was naked, and therefore she left.
No longer seeing Urvashi on his bed, Pururava was most aggrieved. Because of his attraction for her, he was very much disturbed. Thus lamenting, he began traveling about the earth like a madman.
Once during his travels all over the world, Pururava saw Urvashi accompanied by 5 companions on the bank of the Saraswati at Kurukshetra. With jubilance in his face, he then spoke to her in sweet words as follows.
O my dear wife, O most cruel one, kindly stay, kindly stay. I know that I have never made you happy until now, but you should not give me up for that reason. This is not proper for you. Even if you have decided to give up my company, let us nonetheless talk for some time.
O goddess, now that you have refused me, my beautiful body will fall down here, and because it is unsuitable for your pleasure, it will be eaten by foxes and vultures.
Urvashi said, "My dear king, you are a man, a hero. Don't be impatient and give up your life. Be sober and don't allow the senses to overcome you like foxes. Don't let the foxes eat you. In other words, you should not be controlled by your senses. Rather, you should know that the heart of a woman is like of a fox. There is no use making friendship with women."
Women as a class are merciless and cunning. They cannot tolerate even a slight offense. For their own pleasure, they can do anything irreligious, and therefore they do not fear killing even a faithful husband or brother.
Women are easily seduced by men. Therefore, polluted women give up the friendship of a man who is their well-wisher and establish false friendship among fools. Indeed, they seek newer and newer friends one after another. Oh, my dear king, you will be able to enjoy with me as my husband at the end of every year for one night only. In this way, you will have other children one after another.
Thank you very much. I will go to 36. Urvashi vacha ma prathaha purushosi tvam ma isma twadyu raka ime kwapi sankyam na vaistrinam vrakranam hirdayam yatha. Anyone want to read? Urvashi vacha mamrataha purushosi tvam maisma tvadyuvrakai me kwapi sankyam na vaistrinam vrakanam hirdayam yatha. Urvashi vacha mamrataha purushosi tvam maisma tvadyuvrakai me kwapi sakyam na vaistrinam prakarnam hirdayam yatha. Urvashi vacha mamrata purushosi tvam maismatva divrakai me kwapi sakyam na vaistrinam vrakanam hirdayam yatha. Synonyms. Urvashi uvacha. Urvashi said, Ma, do not. Mritaha, give up your life. Purushaha, male. Asi, are. Tvam, you. Masma, do not allow it. Tva, unto you. Adyo, may eat. Vrikra, the foxes. Ime, these do not be under the control of your senses. Qua api, anywhere. Sakyam, friendship. Na, not. Why, indeed. Srinam, of women. Vikranam, of the foxes. Hirdayam, the heart. Yatha, as. Translation by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Urvashi said, "My dear king, you are a man, a hero. Don't be impatient and give up your life. Be sober and don't allow the senses to overcome you like foxes. Don't let the foxes eat you. In other words, you should not be controlled by your senses. Rather, you should know that the heart of a woman is like that of a fox. There is no use making friendship with women." Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki jai. On the spiritual platform, did I start correctly? No. Chanakya Pandit has advised Vishnavo Naiva Kratvyaya Striyu Raj Kulesha Cha. Never place your faith in a woman or a politician unless elevated to the spiritual consciousness. Everyone is conditioned and fallen, what to speak of women who are less intelligent than men. Women have been compared to Shudras and Vaishyas. Striyo Vaishyas Tatha Shudra. On the spiritual platform, however, one is elevated to the platform of Krishna consciousness. Whether one is a man or a woman, women, Shudra, or whatever, everyone is equal. Otherwise, Urvashi, who was a woman herself and who knew the nature of women, said that a woman's heart is like that of a slave fox. If man cannot control his senses, he becomes a victim of such slave fox. But if one can control the senses, there is no chance of being victimized by slave fox like women. Chanakya Pandit also advised that if one has a wife like a slave fox, he must immediately give up his life at home and go to the forest. Mata yasya grahe nasti bharya chaparya vandini anaryam tena gantavyam yatha ramanyam tatha graham. Chanakya Shloka 57. Krishna conscious grahasthas must be very careful of the sly fox women. If the wife at home is obedient and follows her husband in Krishna consciousness, the home is welcoming. Otherwise, one should give up one's home and go to forest. Hitvatma patham graham adham kupam vanam gato yad dharim ashriyat. Bhagavatam 7.5.5. One should go to the forest and take shelter of the lotus feet of Hari, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupaha Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Krapa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shrivas Adi Gaur Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So this is the conversation between Pururava and Urvashi. And since we heard the katha in last couple of days of the last week, I think we understand the context that as she left, King Pururava was actually, even when he asked to marry Urvashi, since that time he was under the influence, significantly under the influence of his mode of passion and sense gratification. desires. And that continued. And she had, when they get married, I think she proposed that, okay, if I will marry you, but if you walk naked other than being with me, then I will go and leave you. And that's what happened in the story. And then when he's trying to get her back, she's giving her reasons why he should not lament so much. He was actually very, very intelligent king from Chandra dynasty. But what is amazing is that, it shows that if we are not on the Krishna conscious path, sometimes we can fall down and we can start doing things which does not make sense. So we have to be even careful when we are in Krishna consciousness. So Srila Prabhupada very clearly explains in the purport that on the spiritual platform, however, when one is elevated to the platform of Krishna consciousness, whether one is a man, woman, Shudra or whatever, everyone is equal. And I think that is a platform that we all are on, and that is our journey from here. But let us take a step back and try to understand what is being explained here and how do we understand this. And I'll try my best to share based on what I heard, the notes that I created from Srila Prabhupada's talks, and also, some realizations. Sly fox that is described here is used for exceptionally clever, cunning, shrewd, sometimes tricky person. And that is really, the analogy that is being used by Srila Prabhupada here to explain what Urvashi is describing. And Urvashi's background is a little bit that, she's, of course, the most beautiful woman in the celestial kingdom, Indra's court. But originally she comes from the sages, when sage brothers Nar and Narayan, who were performing penance, and that made Indra very insecure. And in that process, Indra asked his apsaras named Rambha, Menaka, and one more to go and distract sage Nar and Narayan. And they all went there, but they really could not do anything. And the sages were really, really established in their penance process. But to break the pride, they actually produced, I think sage Narayan produced Urvashi from his body. And her beauty was way beyond anybody Indra had in his courtroom. And so that really made Rambha and Menaka and Indra, everybody felt, a little bit ashamed and felt sorry what they were trying to do. Then Nar and Narayan sage assured Indra that they are not after his kingdom. And then Indra asked for Urvashi, desired for Urvashi to be part of his court. And that's how Urvashi actually came to the celestial abode. So Urvashi actually comes from a very, very spiritual parent, if I may say. And so she knows what she's doing. She has the full knowledge. So in this context, as Srila Prabhupada is describing, the other point is the intelligence part. That what did he say in the purport? Let me go back. Yeah, Chanakya Pandit advised that never place your faith in a woman or a politician unless elevated to spiritual consciousness. Everyone is conditioned and fallen. What to speak of women who are less intelligent than men? women have compared to Shudras and Vaishyas, and then he continued to describe that this is not applicable on the spiritual platform. However, one is elevated to the platform of Krishna consciousness, whether one is a man, woman, Shudra, or whatever, everyone is equal. So, what is intelligence, and how Srila Prabhupada and in our scriptures describe intelligence is also an important thing to understand. Because most commonly intelligence is translated on material platform. It is translated on material platform based on education, based on what school one goes to, based on how eloquently one can talk, based on the opulences of the person, based on where are you in the material career. And that pretty much defines the intelligence, whether it is a man, woman, Shudra, whoever it is, that okay, look at that person or their material success. So, but that is not how Srila Prabhupada or our scripture defines intelligence. Intelligence is really defined on these fundamental things, that how to be eternally happy versus materially happy, which is for a short duration and it goes away. We all know that, we hear that every day. But how to be eternally happy and then act accordingly under the guidance of a guru, according to the Shastras, understanding that I am not this body, I am the soul, is one of the first principles. And then understanding that my relationship with Krishna is eternal. And then once we have that, understand the process of following to get to that point in Bhakti Yoga. If that is not done, then we know that we are part of the cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. And it is so ironic that knowing this also, majority of the people on this planet and other planets are actually in the trap of how do I become happy on the material platform, thinking that I will be able to eradicate old age, disease, and death, and I can be happy forever. That is where we can see that, in spite of making such an amazing progress, in spite of having so much knowledge on our fingertips, in spite of calling whatever we call AI or other things, we cannot understand this concept that we are going to be old, we are going to be diseased, and we are going to die. And this is amazing that so much of research, so much of investment goes on in material world. Why do we not accept that? That is why it is called that less intelligence. And he says that, yes, he said that women, Shudras, and Vaishyas, but that pretty much composed of all the men on this planet and all the women together who are in that pursuit of happiness, which is not happiness. And that is why they are less intelligent. I did quick research to find out, even within the Shudras and Vaishyas, what is the ratio of people who are running businesses and people who work. And I was surprised that in America it said about 3% are the owners who in the potentially could be category of the Vaishnavas. Vaishyas. And everybody is the category of Shudra. And I tried to find what is the percentage of administrators and Brahmanas. Pretty much no in the world. And so then we can see that, actually everybody is under the spell of mode of passion and ignorance, and actually in the category of not intelligent. I mean, I work for a company, hopefully there's no offense to this one on a material platform, but the person who runs my company is the considered most powerful women CEO in the world, running 800,000 people company. And I appreciate that. But when I look at the platform of spirituality, because CEO before that and CEO before that, they all left. Nobody's there nobody knows who is that person. Previous one actually, he was the age of 55. and suddenly one day he learned that he has cancer. In 4 months he was gone. So where is the intelligence? If he did not pay attention that I'm going to die, I'm going to be old, and it can happen any time, but I am focused on thinking that I'm going to make this world better, that is the lack of intelligence. So that is how I understood the meaning of intelligence. And in my realization, unless one is at the platform of Brahmana from the standards of the scriptures, and unless one is on the platform of Kshatriya, working under the guidance of the Brahmanas, everybody is not intelligent. Rest of the people are not intelligent. And unfortunately, even those politicians, and Prabhupada even pointed out, who are supposed to be in the category of Kshatriyas to protect the society, they should not be trusted either. So pretty much he takes out everybody except the Brahmanas. And how many Brahmanas are there is the question. I think if I see ISKCON is an amazing place that Srila Prabhupada created, that is the only place where Brahmanas are created in mass. Like you cannot see any other place on this planet at least, or even in celestial abode, the Brahmanas are being created based on the spiritual knowledge. So very, very limited small layer of the very intelligent people, out of which majority of them are coming from Hare Krishna movement of Srila Prabhupada and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So now other aspect is that if we look at from material platform, why does Srila Prabhupada say, describe there based on the Shastras? The way I understood is that, my realization is that you look at 8.4 million species that are there, and each one has a certain capability in each body type. And so similarly, we as the soul takes a body, and if we are in the human form, sometimes we take the body of men, sometimes we take the body of women. And each body is designed differently. Women's body is designed to be caring, loving, emotional, being mothers. Men's body is generally less emotional, detaches faster, has a tendency to work more outwards. And we all know Vedas describes that women should be under the protection of father, husband, son, based on time, place, and circumstances. And then in Kali Yuga, because of the lack of education of the Vedic wisdom, there is no one really in the outside the whole world is teaching how to be a woman and how to be a man, both. And in that process, what is happening, and this is more of my observation and realization, uneducated men who do not know what is Vedic wisdom, how to be a good husband, tend to exploit the women both emotionally and physically. And this is happening every day, everywhere, in every country. Interestingly, I have heard Srila Prabhupada talk about United Nations a lot, and in the context also I've heard that the people who run the freedom movement these days, women freedom and this and that, also run by those men who exploit them under the umbrella of freedom, which is commonly translated today, do not get married. And we see that even not only in the West, we see that even in East now, as an example in India, that in the name of freedom, many women decide to just not get married and choose to just to live in and start, dating process going from one person to another, literally from a little bit, after middle school onwards. And then working in places which are not appropriate, which really leads to exploitation at every age. And if that is not understood, which causes the havoc in the society which we are seeing today. We are only protected because Srila Prabhupada has put these fundamental principle in which the entire philosophy is actually built into it, which is 4 regulative principles. These are such an amazing principles. And I'll tell you one of my personal incident. I was in Vrindavan going back to my hometown in the train, and the train was very crowded. Even though I had a reservation, there was no space. So I somehow got into the train, and I was trying to get out towards the door so I could get out. And there was one Mataji there with small kid like her. She was in the way and she was standing. So I told her, Mataji, could you please move? I really need to get out. And she was very offended. She actually turned around me and told me, do I look like Mataji to you? You don't know how to talk to women? And I was shocked that, what do I call her now? And I said, I'm very sorry, but can you please give me away so I can go out? This is the result of what is happening in the world. And we, of course, we are very well protected, so we don't realize, but that is how the world is heading. You pick up the social media, some or the other way, if somebody is on those, hooked up to reels, they will always, these engines are always going to seduce them by some of these videos and much more really nasty videos that really bring our character down. And in that process, because there is no protection does not mean that the women are not courageous or whatever, but in the social structure that protection is needed, because there is a lack of education for men and they have no idea how to behave with the women. And every time when they see that some women is not really, there is no one around them, father, husband or son or somebody, they start making advances in such a way, whether sweet talk or in whatever way, to really exploit them. And I see it every day. I literally see it every day. I was in my hometown when go there, so my local ISKCON team, there are youth in that, amazing youth groups. They pretty much run the whole temple. They are like the age of 17 to 30 maybe max. They really run the whole structure. And so they invite me to these medical colleges and other colleges that, okay, come and, have a discussion. So once I went to medical college, and the auditorium was full of, 300, 400 students there, mostly girls there, because in medical side, more girls were there. And so after the conversation of Bhagavad Gita there, and talking about, Matra Sparshas to Kaunteya, that is where I mostly have the conversation in a new setting. And then I was talking about 4 principles there a little bit slowly, and I was encouraging them not to go into drugs and, relationship right now, finish your education, and how exploitation is happening across the board. So many girls after the program stopped by, and they were telling that they're getting exploited at home by their own family members, in the neighborhood, in the college itself. That, just to get few things, everybody's trying to make advances that, okay, somehow I can exploit you on a physical platform or an emotional platform. This is the story of every college, every town, every village, everywhere, not just in India. And that is why when Srila Prabhupada says that protection, just that outside world knows that, okay, you have a father, you have a husband, you have a brother, their approach to the women changes. I see that even at work, even in America, how the exploitation happens. And it is very hard for some reason, a lot of women to see that they are getting actually exploited. And so I'm very grateful to Srila Prabhupada, and I'm sure all of us are, to create this environment where he elevates all of us to the higher platform of really serving Krishna and understand what is Vaishnava culture. And this on this platform is very clear that there is no difference between women, men, Vaishya and Shudras, because everybody is Vaishnav. And once just understanding the principles, understanding that there is something called Vaishnavas, that itself shows that everybody is very intelligent, because that is what we have to learn. Otherwise, there is no use of life. And then he creates these principles, which, initially when I say, okay, I have to say this, 4 regulative principles and some follow, but never started meditating on that till the time I saw what is happening outside. And in this one principle that one should not engage in illicit relationship, and the fact that around that he has put this simple thing that all women should be Matajis. That understanding, which comes eventually over the period of time, is so phenomenal that it saves us from so many sins. And men as Prabhujis, that changes the whole culture. And I just wonder that one day if world actually accepts it as a normal way of living across the board, it will change the humanity. I think everybody will go back to Godhead just by that principle. I'll stop here. Thank you very much. This is a hard topic for me, but hopefully I was able to share some realizations. Happy to hear from all of you. And corrections, please, because I'm sure I made some mistakes in this one today. This is a heavy class for me.
Prabhu, thank you for a nice class, and yes, difficult topic. But I just feel like this comes up in the Bhagavatam ever so often. I mean, this is not that this is just this one example. And so for us who are in the body of women, it's actually nice to hear this. And then Prabhupada in the purport, he explained, okay, let's get to the spiritual platform and, come above, go above these basic tendencies that these bodies and minds may carry. So we have this option of maybe we can behave like foxes, sly foxes, or we can take shelter of the holy name and come to that spiritual platform. So even if it's not just Prabhupada saying the women are it was in the text. So basically the
it was
Bhagavatam,
in the text, yes.
Yeah, so the Bhagavatam is saying, so we have this choice that we can make moment to moment, and this is this option, and see the world through the eyes of the scriptures. I mean, it's wonderful that these younger children are also reading this, so they know, okay, I have these options, and which path I take is my choice. So we have a choice, not that we don't have a choice. We have a choice, but we can choose when we see the world through the eyes of the scripture. So that was very wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
And I was just curious, the backstory you gave of Urvashi coming from the body of I was just curious. I wanted to read some more of that. Do you have
Devi
a
Bhagavad Puran. That's where you're going, right? Where is it coming from? Is that Devi Bhagavad Puran?
Devi Bhagavad Puran. Okay, thank you. Very well.
Yes, ma'am.
Krishna Prabhuji, thank you for nice class. I think in every class you bring the current issues, you bring it in perspective of Krishna consciousness. I really appreciate that. And it also helps for the younger generation to recognize the root cause of the problem for their suffering. You were mentioning that a lot of women don't want to get married because they want freedom.
Sorry. Yes.
I guess there is partial truth in that. But the other part of the story, I think you also touched upon, is the training. And what I have been hearing, like people who study with me also, a lot of women, they don't want, even though they're from Indian background. I think the root cause for that also you touched upon is there's no training in men. Like you mentioned, every woman is exploited at different stages by family, by outside. So that trust is lost.
Yes.
So they think that I'm earning, I'm happy. Why I should get married to someone who's going to bring more problems in my life? Who doesn't have any integrity, who doesn't know how to treat a woman, who doesn't know how to take a responsibility. So I guess other part of the story is, I think women and even children also, I think they're losing trust in this Grihastha ashram itself, where they don't feel protected. They feel like, I think it also applies sometimes. We don't see in Krishna conscious families, but maybe outside, like even children are not, taken care by kids. I think you mentioned one story where kids are just dropped in Bhakti Ruksha and parents don't want to be part of
Yeah.
it. So I think, like you mentioned, I think the root cause is in the system. People are losing trust in the system, trust in parents, trust in husbands, trust in the whole,
Yeah.
the word called authority. So I think once the trust and confidence is lost, they don't want to get into any relationship. I think I just wanted to share what I hear outside of
Yes. Yes.
Krishna conscious. I think everything boils down to the training. I think in older days in Vedic system, like boys were trained up in brahmachari ashram. They were taught Vedic values and everything. But now most of the training is in just earning money, becoming famous. There's no training, and then the trust in relationships is lost, trust in authority, trust in system, everything is no confidence. So I think that's also the cause
Yes.
why women are not getting married.
Thank you, Mataji, for touching that. And essentially, because we do not have Varna ashram system anymore in the society, so from the top down, which is Brahmanas and the Vedas on top of it, then the Kshatriyas and then the Vaishyas and the Shudras, there is no direction. Why are we living and what we are supposed to do? And if at the top the Brahmanas are engaged, so-called Brahmanas are engaged in the sense gratification and accumulation of wealth, and hence that is what is trickling. That is why we see the politician today, and Srila Prabhupada mentions politician here also, are the most corrupt personalities across the board, no matter where you go. And so when that exploitation which is happening from the Brahmanas stage to downward, then why would not Vaishyas and Shudras will do the same thing? And so that has become part of the culture right now, and that has spoiled our understanding that what is men supposed to do and women supposed to do, nobody knows. And in that process, because we have so much of material goals now, because that is where, remember we were talking about intelligence translated to success. So now what has happened, it is ingrained in the mind of girls and boys, both equally, that unless you are so and so, unless you go to this and this college, you are not intelligent and successful. And hence, now I am in that race to figure it out that this is my position and that is when I will be called intelligent and successful. But then it comes at a price that nobody knows how to behave or live properly as family and husband and wife. So thank you very much for highlighting that. Anyone else? Thank you very much. Thanks for coming. Thanks for enlightening me also. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada.
Dip your hands into hot water. You know what? My hand hit something hard. I don't know for some days, so maybe like flip hand. I don't know what. But then whenever my hand hits something, it becomes numb. It could hit something hard, and then I can't even feel anything. So like I feel. I think it's a bug, not because in winter it's not so hot. But I was being near the sun and it's so.
Hare